Hello, I'm Joey from TOPQuote. Before we get started with this demo, I'll give you a little background information on the company. TOPQuote was originally founded as a software consulting firm in 2002. We are a team of Microsoft certified consultants, and we leverage a partnership with Microsoft. We are members of the American Fire Sprinkler Association, as well as the National Fire Protection Association. The partnership with Microsoft gives us a very strong global presence. Microsoft invests over $1 billion a year in cybersecurity, which benefits our clients. We got started in 2014 where we developed a custom estimating platform for convergent technologies. We helped them go from 680 million to 1.2 billion in revenue in 2 years. The company was sold, we parted ways. A couple years later, Summit companies came to us and said, hey, we need the same sort of thing, and we decided to launch TOPQuote. TOPQuote now serves companies like Summit, Pi Barker, and many local and regional fire protection companies. Let's jump into the demo. TOPQuote is a web-based application, which means you can access it from any device that can reach the internet. I'm going to log in, and I'm impersonating the role of a quoting sales rep. The first thing I'm presented with is a dashboard of my sales activity. I can see historical activity as well as a leaderboard for all the companies or offices that I can quote in. These dashlets here are movable as well as they're configurable, so we can retrieve data from other sources like Salesforce or our partner InspectPoint or different sources of data like your ERP. TOPQuote is broken into several apps. You get to these apps by clicking on the 4 squares. There's Analytics, which focuses on detailed activity around sales tracking and your team's activity, a customer database, as well as the Quotes app. We're going to stay focused on the Quotes app for now. So the key drivers for TOPQuote is our focus on estimating. We have several quote engines. One is a low voltage or suppression engine. A standard quote in TOPQuote looks like this. Basically, you have a lot of areas to support the quote, plus live chat. You can track the stage. There's different metrics associated with the project or the quote, the due date, start date, things of that nature. We support the idea of multiple versions, so you could use this feature to do multi-contractors, you could do phases, as well as you could do alternates. So this gives you a lot of flexibility. You can clone a quote, take off some devices and say, here's an example of one version of the quote, or here's another example. We offer cloud file storage, which means you can store drawings, you can store all the information for your team to access in this one backed up, centrally stored location. No more hunting down emails or local network shares. We have sharing, which basically allows you to share the customer or the quote with other members of your team. You can track notes and other activities related to the quote, and all this information stays in one place. We automate the process of reviews. So you can request a review, or we automate threshold approvals. So let's just say you go to generate a proposal. The quote is at 12% margin. There's a threshold defined that says anything less than 30% has to be approved based on the subsystem as well as the dollar amount. You can control those approval processes, and that happens automatically. Just like the reviews. When I request a review, an email goes out to the person. They click on a link. They can view the quote as well as leave feedback from within the quote. That speeds up the process and makes the review process, faster and not require a meeting. You can generate proposals in here. The way proposals work is there is essentially a list of templates that your team creates. With the templates, you basically define your marketing as well as your legal language, and then your sales rep or estimator picks the one that's most appropriate for his needs. And then when they hit generate, they have the ability to edit the document in place. Here's an example of what I'm doing now. Of course, this is test data. And from here, they can edit it. This one actually dynamically added the bill of materials. I can generate a PDF with this. And then basically what happens, it'll produce the PDF, and that data is stored in the area where the proposals are for future access. We can also integrate with systems like HelloSign or DocuSign or PandaSign, so that way you can send it off automatically for a customer for signature. We have a system called Bid Delivery System, which allows you to upload a PDF, generate a link to that PDF. You then email that link to your customer, and then every time they click on it to get to the PDF, you're notified by email that they opened it. A lot of times we hear that essentially they'll make a phone call, just checking in right when the client opens it, and they're able to answer any questions. So we've gone through a few key features. Of course, there's a history where everything's tracked, really around the quote. So our quotes essentially all look the same, except for the estimating part of it. So in this example, TopQuote offers 4 quoting engines based on subsystem as well as quoting form. So we target low voltage, which is security, fire alarm, AV, suppression, sprinkler, and then if your team uses Excel, we have an integration with Excel, which allows you to use what you're used to as well as give you the ability to extract sales data and key metrics. I'll jump to a low voltage quote. So this bill of materials is configured to support low voltage, which is fire alarm and security. And what I mean by that is this table of materials here is completely configurable. So in this example, and as we've seen with some companies, they want to track labor. They want to associate labor per device. So we basically have given the ability to configure it so that you can choose labor positions that show up on your bill of materials. There's a lot of functionality here. You can drag and drop, you can copy and paste, you can segment your items into areas. So in this example, here's first floor and here's third floor. You get access to catalogs based on your suppliers and suppliers you work with. A lot of times we have API connections which go directly to the supplier to ensure that you're working with live pricing. In other areas, we actually have a concierge team that manages about 200 suppliers' data. And in that example, you'll get a new file from the supplier. Here's an update. You'll send it to our concierge team. They'll immediately transform it and convert it into data so your sales team is working with the most current pricing. There's the ability to create assemblies or kits. There's a couple here, different sprinkler as well as just test assemblies. You can add these assemblies to the bill of materials and you can edit them. You can create custom items, and then you can have predefined labor. So you can choose which labor you want to use on this job or on this quote. There's the idea of labor groups. So you could say, here's Davis Bacon wages, here's negotiated wages for a client, or here's our underground rates, here's our standard rates. And so there's a lot of flexibility in controlling those. So that way your sales team is working with the most current labor rates. Other costs gives you the ability to track project expenses that are over and above labor and materials. In this example, we've got like a boom here. We've got warranty, which is actually a percentage of the bill of materials. So you can have percentage types, project expenses. And then we have a standard summary. This gives your management team the ability to review a job quickly, see where things are, track margin dollars, and just get a quick glance of the overall project. And we focus on key elements of the quote like total direct costs, markup or gross margin, and then total sale price. So that was a low voltage quote engine that's been demonstrated. Let me jump into a couple other engines that we have. So that was a low voltage engine. I'm going to go into a couple other engines that we support. So now let's go into a sprinkler quote. Here in the recent quote areas, you'll see that the quote looks the same. You have the ability to create custom fields, so you can add any field that you want to a quote. But what's different is the estimate tab. Here we have a bill of materials that features items you would expect to see in sprinkler quoting. You can associate labor factors, fabrication labors, as well as metrics to track whether it's a head or pipe. This goes to fuel some of our metrics. Catalogs, again, they're specific to sprinkler. You may recognize some names here. You can have sprinkler assemblies. And then labor is broken out differently because you may have crews. You can have multiple crews. You can have crews of different sizes. In this example, I have an installer and technician. Project expenses can be unique and different for sprinkler. You can have standard and fixed project expenses that show up here. You could track square footage for KPIs, manage material escalation, material waste, pipe escalation waste, as well as labor escalation waste. And then we have a summary specific to sprinkler. This gives you core metrics that you can use to evaluate the quality of this quote, ensure that you're protecting the margin, and ensure you're there in line with your company standards. Great deal of flexibility here. Now let's jump into our most commonly used quote engine. Being that many of our clients use Excel to quote their jobs, we have a tool that integrates with Microsoft Excel. The way it works is that your Excel estimate becomes a template. So when you start a new job, your sales rep or estimator will choose the appropriate template, which means they have the most current pricing, they have the most up to date template. They start a quote, and the quote looks exactly like the rest of our quotes, same features, but when they go to launch the Excel, they click on Native Estimate, and it pops open Microsoft Excel, which they can then do their job like they normally do. And when they're done, they just hit save. And it uploads it back to the server, and your server always has the most current copy of the estimate. Therefore, it's not on the sales rep's desktop, and you have the ability to have a cloud backup, as well as you can retrieve KPIs and any sales data associated with it. This ensures that your sales team is using the most current spreadsheet. They don't have to learn a new system. Plus, if they don't have the plugin, if someone on your team, like the design team or project managers, don't have the plugin, we have a read-only Excel version, which is web-based. The same exact quote. So then anyone can come in here and see the quote. This allows you to immediately automate sales tracking, immediately automate ensuring that your team is using a standard approach to quoting when it comes to Excel. Now let's take a look at other areas within the Quotes app. We have an active grid, which basically shows all the quotes that your sales team has in process. This can be set up so that the sales team could share the quotes or as an individual, which most companies do. We have soft features which allow you to see the data as you need. Let's say if I want to see the quotes real quick I have in progress by customer, I can just drag and drop and group real quick. I can export quickly. We offer a follow-up grid, so once you give a customer a quote, you can track how often you need to follow up. It shows you the age in weeks. There's search features. There's a calendar that shows the quoting activity that you have, build due dates, things of that nature. And then we offer a lookup. So let's just say you want to see the cost of something. Here's your current pricing. You can come in here real quick and type in the name of it, the part number, and see the current price of it. And that's part of lookup. And these are catalogs that are basically your catalogs that we maintain for you. So let's take a look at some other areas of the application. So we have analytics. Analytics is an app that gives you drill down access to your sales team's activity. We feature a dashboard that's completely configurable. You can drill into estimators and sales reps, stages, any type of work, vertical markers, project types. All these things are dynamic and can be configured to your team's needs. We present you with a Gantt chart, which allows you to see when project starts and when they end, helps track resource allocations. Hot list is a concept where you have high confidence you're going to win a job, which allows you to forecast sales, revenue, resource requirements. You can drill into the types of work you're doing. Are you getting enough of the work that you're marketing towards? Gives you instant feedback of that. Snapshot gives you the ability to drill into your team at a whole. And so in this example, it's just one office, and I can see what Joey's doing, see what he's doing week over week. I can filter by subsystem, work type, and stage of work. I can drill in to see how people are trending and see, let's see what they've done over the last quarter or the last year. And then we can look at competitors. And so when you lose a job, you can track who you're losing it to, why you lost it, and go back and look at that information. Maybe you should take someone out to lunch or something to follow up. That's the analytics app. The customer app is really focused on details about your customer. So you can drill into a particular customer. I'll jump here, look at A1 Fire. So this is a dashboard for this customer, what we've done historically, any forecasted sales, what type of work are we doing for this customer. If I want to see the projects, I could click here, get access to them, what quotes are in progress, as well as any contact or address information I have. This gives you a full customer database, and a lot of teams really appreciate this feature. Lastly, I'm going to go back to the Quotes app. Again, this is where most companies focus their energy and their sales teams work within. Thank you for your time on this demo. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share what TopQuote can do for you.